And if I change, the whole human family actually changes. We know this with our own small families. If one member of the family changes what he or she does, or the way they think, it affects the whole family. Something has changed in the relationships of the whole family. And so if I change as a result of what I begin to hear this evening, then the whole human family begins to change. So, now if we've listened so often but not heard, we need to help ourselves this evening to hear. And so we've changed the process a little. It's not just one long input from me. We've divided the time up into 4 necessary steps. The first one is, yes, to have some input, some information or suggestions or ideas or questions or challenges, and I've got the job of giving them this evening, and you have the task of listening as though really you are hearing them for the first time. You know, because if you say, oh, I have heard this before, forget it. We haven't heard it before. We've listened to the words, but hearing the message takes attention. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we're going to go away. There will be the translation, as Ferry explained, after that. But then we all go away and we chew over it. We often use the word reflection. And when we use the word reflection, for most people this means sitting and vaguely thinking about it. But that's not really what we need to do. We need to chew on it. So I brought you something to chew. These, by the way, in green are ingwer, so that if you don't like ginger, avoid these. The other ones are fruit or mint, you know. But it's a question of getting hold of an idea or a challenge and actually chewing on it with your mind, going over it, till you get out what it really tastes like. And then we drop it. We drop it into silence. No thinking, no suggestions, no feelings, just silence. So we'll have a short time of silent meditation. And then we are ready for the 4th stage, and that is communication. Because it becomes real, it becomes valuable when we are able to share it with someone and get them to share in return. So that is the process, and change comes slowly, but it comes, if we go through the process. So that is the process for this evening. 2 hours is a very short time in which to do all 4 steps, but it is worth doing it. So we'll divide the time up. According to when I finish, we'll divide the time up so that we get a little for each of the 4. And you can carry on when you do it at home by yourself. Now, the topic. The topic, as you all know very well, for your Pentecost Triduum this year, has an English translation. And when Maria Louisa sent this to me before, some months ago, in English, the word is moderate living. And that really is, in English, is not at all attractive. In German it obviously is, because as you possibly saw, it was last Sunday or the Sunday before, it was the church day of the Protestant churches in Germany. And they had exactly the same topic. So, I accept that in German it is something that attracts you, but in English it does not. We need balance in our lives. But to have balance, we have sometimes to go this side and sometimes to go that side. We have to be flexible. It's not a question of being careful, of being cautious. In English, the word moderate living means be careful, don't do too much, don't do too little. Cautiousness and limits to what you will do is really not the experience of Pentecost. Pentecost is an experience of risk, of fire, of passion, of willingness to go right it this way or right that way, to do it wholeheartedly. And so I have stayed within the topic for Pentecost, but I am coming to it from a different angle, perhaps, than the other speakers. And I hope you'll forgive me because it fits better this way in English. I think you know that the title, the way I will look at it, is asking a simple question. Are we, as a human family, trying to cure, trying to heal the surface rash? Rash? Word German for rash? Yes, irritation. Yeah. On the skin. Is that what we're trying to do? Or are we really getting down to the cause of that rash? We're looking for the virus in the disease. And if you think of how we do treat a rash, I don't know what the symptoms, you know. We go to the apotheker, we get a cream or a lotion, or the doctor gives us tablets or something, and slowly the irritation goes and the skin begins to heal. But very quickly it breaks out again, somewhere else. Now, the first thing we have to do is to recognize that as a human family, this is what we're doing. We have many symptoms, signs that our human family is seriously sick. It's a family that is dysfunctional. Last week, Giti and I happened to be in Croatia, and as the weather, we were by the sea, and as the weather is so uncertain, we tried one night, quickly, to find the weather forecast on television. Now, it was a question of flicking, you know, through all the channels, because we don't know Croatian or Italian, and there was nothing from Austria or in English, and so we were just flicking through trying to find a weather forecast, which we did. It was the last one, of course, right at the end. But in the flicking through like this, which only took a few minutes, we saw quick shots of programs, 20, 30 programs on television that evening. And at the end of just that, I felt sick. Because what did we see? Crude sex, violence, abuse, corruption, politicians shouting that they are the only ones who have the truth, etc., etc., etc. Within a few moments, you could see the sickness in the family, the rash on the surface. There was also indifference, people who didn't care. There was also the way we treat the strangers in our midst, among us, the asylum seekers, the migrants, the people of different religious traditions. It was all there. You could not but be absolutely sure that when I say we have a sick society, that it is true. Now, we have on the other side many, many initiatives, attempts to heal society's sickness. We had, for example, just a few nights ago, the news and the shots of the people who are the Turkish people and the others, the Syrians, who are trying to get away from the civil war in Syria. And there was a shot of one family, an older man with his wife and children, who had come across the border, and he was saying, looking at the small children, we have no hope. We have no future. There can be no future for us. And then a few minutes later, we got the information that Nakba in Note had set up a new project to collect money to help those who had gone across the border, fleeing away from the civil war in their country. So immediately a problem, immediately a help. There are many others. This is a postcard which at first sight looks exactly like the postcards, the pictures that you send from holiday, you know, to friends saying, I'm having a wonderful time, the weather is terrible, we'll see you next week, you know, the sort of thing people sent. Except that this one came from Vienna, and it is a photograph of the men who were in the church in Vienna on hunger strike. You remember that. It was sent to me by one of the social workers who's working with them. What was she trying to do? Get a message out. There is something wrong here, and we need to help to heal it. So that came. Somebody gave us this packet of Swiss chocolate. I'm sorry, it's empty, it's finished. But when it's finished and you look inside, if you don't just throw it away straight away, and you look inside, it has on this side, I think you can just about see the foot, you know? It has all the information about the distribution, how much goes into the raw materials to make the chocolate, the processing, the packaging, the transport, the distribution, and what the consumer gets at the end of it. And great details at the bottom. On the other side, it gives us information about the environment, about carbon dioxide emission from cars, and so on, and how we can save the planet by planting trees, and all that you can do. Wonderful. So that in the back packet back of a packet of chocolate, you have all this information and advice and challenge to do something about the rash, the symptoms of the planet and of injustice. It's also very interesting that on the back it has basic information in the following languages: German, English, French, Italian, Spanish, Danish, Swedish, Finnish, Russian, Chinese, Hindi, and Arabic. I wonder if your first reaction is, how much did it cost to produce this? It's fair trade chocolate. Okay, another attempt. But is it only healing the rash? I'm not offering to give you this if you're hungry, but you can have it afterwards. I have 2 bananas here, bought on the same day in the same shop. I would like to have unpeeled them and give you them to eat and see if you can tell any difference. The difference is, of course, this is a biological banana, and I'm not too sure what this is if it isn't also biological, but it is a banana. We're all very, very familiar with the attempt that's being made to solve some of our most serious problems through preventing the use of chemical fertilizers in the production of food. Now, all these initiatives are ones that are within reach of all of us. They're not things that the United Nations are preaching. It's something, chocolate, postcards, money to nut bar in note, biological bananas, and so on. There are hundreds more attempts to heal the sickness of society. I chose these simply because they are ordinary, everyday examples that any one of us could be involved in. Attempts to heal the sickness of society. But of course the question is, are we really doing that? Or are we just putting some soothing ointment on the irritation? In order to find out the root of the sickness, the root of the virus, and not just look at the rash on the surface, we have to ask ourselves some questions. Let's take the asylum seekers. Why were they on hunger strike? Because of the process of dealing with asylum seekers. That word's familiar, isn't it, in German? Asylum seekers in Austrian law. Is that really the problem? Nearly all of these asylum seekers came from Pakistan. Nearly all of them, therefore, are seeking political asylum in Austria because they belong to Shiite Muslims coming from a Sunni area. That isn't our problem. If these just sound like words to us, well, just think of Catholics and Protestants. Pakistan is a vast country, and perhaps these men could have moved to another part of their country where their particular type or brand or community of Islam was predominant. The question here is, did we look deeply enough into this and say, what really is the problem? The rash is hunger strike in Vienna, but it's not the Austrian law that is the problem. Now, are we going to face something like that? Okay, what are fair trade chocolate packets meant to do for us? They are meant to give a fair wage, fair trade, to the farmers who are growing the cocoa beans that make the chocolate. Fine. They are also putting out a lot of good information about how we are destroying and harming the planet. Fine. But it's possible to think that the chocolate company in Switzerland is also making something out of this. Popularity, world distribution. One of the dangers here is that it's this type of thing that is perhaps helping a few people who grow beans, cocoa beans at the moment. If this collapses, what do those men do? They're not producing the chocolate. The Swiss company is. And one of the backlashes, of this sort of advertising, I came across quite recently, where a mother said to me, where the children had been offered some chocolate, "Is it fair trade?" And then went on to say immediately, "My children won't eat anything but fair trade chocolate. So if anybody offers them chocolate and it's not fair trade, they won't touch it." That's something to chew on. What came into my mind then was a story that Jesus told of somebody who went into the temple to pray and said, "Oh God, I thank you that I am not like the rest of people. I eat fair trade chocolate." And only fair trade chocolate. So there's something behind that. My precious biological bananas. Okay. If these biological bananas had been grown in Europe, fine. Okay? Why? Because we are in a position here to use or to refuse to use chemical fertilizers. And it's good that we refuse to use chemical fertilizers. But if these bananas happen to come from somewhere like India, you're in a very different situation. As far as I can remember from India, bananas don't get fertilized at all, anyway. They're just expected to grow. And the farmers would not have access to chemical fertilizers. And even if they had, they couldn't afford them. So it isn't the problem there. It's an appropriate solution for here, but not for there. So, okay, when we start asking questions about, is it the rash or is it the virus that we're really trying to cure, we get a bit discouraged with this. And we might say to ourselves, well, what should we do? Give up trying? And the answer is most definitely no. Don't give up trying. All of these attempts, fair trade, biological bananas, nut bar in note, all of them are good initiatives, and they are doing something. They may be only healing the surface for a while without curing anything, but at least they are keeping us awake to the fact that there is a problem. We have a sick society. But can we really look and find the virus? Now, this is what we are here for. If it is a rash on the surface of the skin, which keeps on coming back and never gets cured, then it's not the surface of the skin that is the problem. There is probably an impurity in the blood, in the bloodstream. There is some virus in the system. And unless that gets cured, this will never heal. Now, what could be the virus that's in the bloodstream of our society today? Certainly, we have very false ideas about the mystery we call God by 1,000 names. We are lacking clarity about the purpose of our life on this planet, the reason why the universe exists, the reason why humanity exists, the reason why I exist, the purpose. We're spending an incredible amount of money and resources trying to discover how life began in the universe and on this planet. And we seem to be spending no time at all on really looking at what the purpose of life is. We have forgotten, and this is the main thing, we have forgotten that our life on this planet is short, that we are not just body, psyche, it's as basic as this, that we are also spirit. And this is what Pentecost is about. The constant reminder that we are more than a body, psyche, for a short time on planet Earth. A very short time on planet Earth. And that we are in actual fact mystery, of the same stuff as the mystery that brought and keeps everything in existence. We are spirit. We are living in an environment where a lively, easy, trustful sharing of our life as spirit is no longer possible. It's too cold. The fire has gone out. And we're often told that this is the age of the unbelief of believers. Even those of us who are still staying within the circle of a believing family, a Christian community, a Muslim community, a Hindu community, whatever, have really lost the fire that is life in the spirit. Life awareness to the fact, aware that we are spirit. And that is the virus. This is the thing that is eating the life of the whole of humanity today. Now, how can we heal this? Well, we've also listened to this many times. First thing is a radical non-possessiveness. Radical, right down to the boots of it. We don't want to possess people, things, ideas, status. All these things we try to possess. One person said, we have glue on our fingers. We have to get rid of the yoo-hoo. Because everything we touch, it's mine. And if this is mine, it's not yours. But we think only in terms of money and resources. But it's much, much deeper than that. If we know we are people of spirit, what is all this? Whose is it? First line of the Upanishads. Do not envy another possessions, because whose is wealth? A radical non-possession, but this is only possible, because it is so radical, it's only possible when we live in awareness of the transitoriness of everything that passes on planet Earth and in the universe, where we can see what is essential and hold on to that and know everything else is in transition. And it's only possible to do that when we're convinced that life is more than life on planet Earth. There is life beyond life. We have faith in that. We're convinced about it. That's the healing process. And we know it. The thing that makes it a little difficult for us is that we want everyone to be healed. You know, a whole society. The healing process is individual, even for the rash. You know, if we all have a rash on our skin, it's no use you putting cream on it. We've all to do it. The rash will only be cured for you if you put cream on. His rash will be cured, or Annalise's. We can only be cured of the virus individually, one by one. And then society slowly heals. So often we say, all these things are beyond me. It's only when we can say, no, I can do this. And only I can do it for myself. And I want to do it. With the passion and the energy to live this way. And now, let's be very practical. This is the next stage. This is where you take something to chew. Just one thing, one idea, one word, one something you, perhaps something you do not like, perhaps something you now say, yes, that is right. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Take it and chew on it. Take one of these to help you if you want. But you know, don't discuss it with yourself, just go over it and over it and over it, and then see what happens. Important part of the whole evening. This is where things change. The listening to the words, the chewing over them, getting hold of one thought and really deeply thinking about it. Now we let it go. Just let it drop. And it's useful to have, for a short time, like this, an image in your mind to begin with. So if you like to just settle down, close your eyes and imagine something falling gently. Either a small stone falling through the clear water of a lake, or autumn leaves falling from a tree, or snowflakes falling very gently, so that the thoughts And the words and the images begin to fall slowly into silence and stillness.
Vielleicht die Augen schließen und sich ein Bild vergegenwärtigen, einen Stein, der ins Wasser fällt, ein Blatt, das vom Baum fällt. Versuchen, langsam ruhig zu werden, die Gedanken, dieses Bild hin, sich konzentrieren.
Be patient while you watch the last few autumn leaves fall slowly to the ground, or the last few flakes of snow falling slowly to the ground.
Geduldig zum Beispiel die letzten Blätter vom Baum herunterfallen sehen.
If you have a practice of meditation, just begin when you're ready. If not, then just let your mind quieten down. When the thoughts begin again, slowly come back to watching those leaves drifting slowly, gently, and resting on the ground.
Wenn du eine eigene Meditationsmethode hast, dann kannst du die jetzt üben. Ansonsten einfach immer wieder zu diesem Bild zurückkommen, der Blätter, die langsam den Boden fallen.
Just let the thoughts and the words go. They are no longer needed. You only need the stillness, the silence, and the waiting.
Die Gedanken, Wörter, das brauchen wir jetzt nicht. Einfach Stille in diesem Bild ruhen.
Do not open your eyes nor move, but just allow yourself to become aware of your breathing. Make sure that it is slow and easy.
Die Augen noch nicht öffnen, sondern das Atmen beobachten, schauen, dass es langsam regelmäßig ist.
Just keep your attention watching the rhythm of your breathing.
Die Aufmerksamkeit ganz auf den Rhythmus des Atmens legen.
And only when you feel ready, just let your eyes open gently. Don't force them to see. Just let them gaze gently on whatever is in front of you.
Erst dann ganz langsam die Augen öffnen, sehen, was vor mir ist.
Now you can relax your shoulders and just move your arms or hands a little.
Die Schultern entspannen, sich langsam bewegen.
And there's no hurry to go back to words.
Keine Eile, wieder zu sprechen zu beginnen.
But just see which word or thought comes easily to your mind at this moment.
Jetzt schauen, was für ein Wort, welcher Gedanke kommt jetzt sehr leicht im Gedächtnis.
And then we feel ready to communicate with each other.
Und dann fühlen wir uns bereit, miteinander ins Gespräch zu kommen.
As you walk back to the conference room, walk with someone else.
Mit jemandem Zweiten jetzt zurückgehen zum Seminarraum
And try to walk with somebody you don't often have the chance of a conversation with.
mit jemandem, den man vielleicht noch nicht so oft gesprochen hat.
And on the way, like the disciples on their way to Emmaus, each one shares simply the thought or the idea that comes most easily to mind from your listening and thinking and hearing the silence.
Und einfach mitteilen, den Gedanken, diese Idee, die mir jetzt sehr unkompliziert aus der Stille heraus zukommt.
It could take 10 or 15 minutes to make our way back to the seminar room. So when we're there, we can communicate as a group. So only get up and start moving when you're ready, and
etwas Zeit lassen, 5 bis 10 Minuten. Und wenn wir